Long ago in a northern village, there lived a blacksmith with his wife and son, Conan. After forging his finest sword, he shows it to his son on the mountainside, recounting the tale of Chroma, the great god of their people, from whom humans received the secret of steel production. To master the secret, Conan must respect the ancient art of the blacksmiths. Soon, their native village is raided by riders led by the evil sorcerer Talsay Doom. They ruthlessly deal with the villagers, and when Conan's father resists, he is killed. The wife and son hide nearby, horrified by the death of their defender. They too fail to escape, and the sorcerer with the blacksmith's sword slowly approaches the woman. Using his spells, he freezes her in place and forces her to lower her weapon. With a swift motion, he beheads her. Little Conan, holding his mother's hand all this time, cannot believe what he has witnessed. The children are left alive, chained and taken north, where they are used for hard slave labor. In the heat and cold, they spend entire days turning a massive wheel. After 20 years, only Conan remains standing, continuing to work alone. An endurance warrior notices him and takes him along. Conan is thrown into a pit where deadly gladiatorial battles take place. An opponent with sharp beast-like teeth attacks the bewildered novice. Drenched in blood, the barbarian fights back and emerges victorious in his first battle. Many more follow, with Conan dominating each time and becoming the overall favorite. When no one can compete with the invincible Conan, the fighter is sent to the east to be turned into an elite warrior. Great masters share their secrets with the barbarian, teaching him to read and write, introducing him to poetry and philosophy. Although Conan remains a slave, the most beautiful concubines are brought to him, making him a complete man. Though memories of his father are distant, he never abandons the blacksmith's covenant and continues to believe in Chroma and the sacred steel. He earns great respect from his teachers, and one night, the master decides to grant Conan his freedom. The former slave runs into the steps, but there, a pack of wolves catches up with him. Seeking refuge on a cliff, Conan falls into an ancient tomb hidden inside. There, he lights a fire and sees skeletons of ancient people everywhere, one of whom sits on a throne in royal attire. In his right hand is a sword, which Conan carefully takes and cleans of rust. Suddenly, the skeleton's crown falls, causing the ancient king's head to bow. The barbarian sees it as a sign of divine approval. Crom himself led him here and bestowed the blade. Receiving his first weapon, Conan frees himself from the last chains that still remained on his body and then deals with the wolves. On his way, the wandering warrior comes across a lone hut where a woman is already waiting for him. Conan enters, where the hostess hears prophecies. From the north will come a great warrior who will destroy serpents and become a king. Since childhood, Conan remembered the emblems of those who killed his parents. 2 snakes under a black sun merging into one. Pravitas promises to reveal more if the man spends the night with her. Conan agrees, but in the process, the witch transforms into a demon with sharp teeth, whom the man pushes into the fire. The spirit leaves her body, flying into the forest with a sinister laugh. Conan sets out on his journey when he suddenly notices a man chained to a rock nearby, begging for food. The thief was punished by leaving him to die alone. Conan releases the prisoner, and they spend the evening by the fire, debating whose god is stronger. Subutai becomes Conan's companion and loyal friend. Together, they overcome mountains and fields. Conan finds himself inside a real city for the first time. After replenishing their supplies at the local market, the friends continue their journey. In another settlement, Conan has his sword sharpened by a blacksmith. None of the people have seen the emblems with snakes mentioned by the witch, but a local tells them about the Siktant Towers, where followers worship crawling reptiles. The snake religion spreads through all the cities, and its adherents kill people at night. Conan and Subutai head toward the towers. On the way, the barbarian sees a camel and knocks it out with a single blow, just for fun. This attracts too much attention, and Subutai suggests they be more careful. The thief hopes to steal something valuable in the tower, but as they approach it, they meet a girl named Valeria. In her hands is a sword and a rope, and she also planned to secretly infiltrate. They decide to join forces, and the group climbs onto the roof of the tower. A terrible stench emanates from the well above, but it is the only way inside. In the temple, the sectarians dressed in white turn out to be followers of the same Talsay Doom who killed Conan's father and mother. Valeria knocks out one of the women and puts on her attire. While she watches the beginning of the ritual, Conan and Subutai descend to the lower floor where they find a gigantic serpent. They steal the treasure, including a huge precious stone, the snake's eye. Conan engages in a battle with the serpent, managing to pierce its jaw, but the snake wraps around his body, attempting to strangle him. The marksman helps his friend by blocking the enemy's head against the wall with his arrows, and the friends emerge victorious. While they fought, one of the young sectarians removed her attire and approached the edge of the abyss to offer herself as food to the snake. She jumps down and screams upon discovering the corpse of the sacred animal. Panic ensues, and Valeria helps the friends escape, hindering the guards from piercing them with arrows. The trio jumps from the roof into the water, then celebrates their victory in a tavern. Conan gifts the snake's eye to Valeria, expressing his sympathy. She reciprocates, and the two spend the night together. Conan crafts a pendant from the stone for his girlfriend to wear around her neck. The companions enjoy life and wealth without restraint, soon losing their vigilance. Royal guards catch them off guard, but it turns out that the ruler, Osric, does not intend to punish the thieves. The old king despises the sectarians, and besides, his own daughter fell under the influence of Talsay Doom, avoiding the royal palace to seek spiritual enlightenment from him. The concerned father showers the thieves with treasures and asks in return to bring the princess home. Valeria and Subotai are too pleased with the king's advance and want to escape without getting involved with the army of crazy followers. The girl loves Conan and doesn't want to lose him, but the barbarian cannot let the murderer of his parents go unpunished. While Valeria sleeps, Conan leaves the cozy corner and sets off on the path alone. He rides for many days, following the pilgrims who wish to reach Doom's palace. On the way, the barbarian passes the remains of ancient civilizations and ruined cities until he comes across the hut of a shaman. The man tries to scare the armed warrior, but they quickly realize that they are not enemies. They talk for a long time by the fire about ancient gods and titans, and in the morning, Conan leaves his sword and horse to his new acquaintance, so as not to stand out among the pilgrims. Riding a camel, he enters the tent camp of the sectarians, where he takes the clothes from one of the priests and takes his place in the procession heading to Talsay Doom's palace. On its steps appears the daughter of King Osric, and behind her is Doom himself, who begins his sermon. But then Conan is identified as an unbeliever and captured. He's cruelly tortured, and then Talsay Doom demands that they return the precious snake's eye. Conan screams that the villain killed his people, father and mother, and treacherously stole the sword forged by his father. Doom calmly explains that many years ago, he sought the secret of steel production, but now he knows a much more valuable secret, the secret of flesh. As proof, he orders the girl on the cliff to jump down. Without hesitation, she does so, and the sorcerer declares that steel is nothing compared to the hand that wields the sword, and its power is limitless. After Conan is crucified on the Tree of Suffering in the middle of the desert, tormented by vultures and left without food and water, the warrior realizes that his end is near. However, at sunrise, Subotai appears on the horizon, freeing his friend. Valeria also arrives, and together, they transport the injured Conan to the shaman's hut. They plead for the barbarian's healing, but the shaman warns that the cost of such a ritual could be too high. Valeria declares that she will pay any price, and the shaman begins the task of preventing Conan's spirit from being taken to the afterlife. Fiercely defending Conan's body from death messengers, the friends bring him back to life. Valeria promises that no gods will separate the lovers, and she will aid him even from the realm of the dead. Now, Conan will no longer embark on perilous journeys alone. Subotai suggests kidnapping the girl and seeking revenge on the sorcerer another time, but Conan remains silent, deep in thought. The shaman wishes the friends good luck as they reach the entrance to the cave on the other side of the mountain, where Talsay Doom hides. Applying war paint, the trio sneaks inside, where sectarians conduct a ritual of flesh and pleasures. A large cauldron with boiling brew is brought into the hall. The princess is seated at the sorcerer's feet as he observes the paddens from his throne. Suddenly, Doom's body begins to transform, turning into a gigantic serpent. Meanwhile, Valeria and Subotai start a fire and deal with the guards, while Conan draws all attention to himself in the center of the hall. While the serpent is distracted, Valeria seizes the princess and takes her away. Conan fights off the approaching guards, overturning the boiling brew and breaking the gigantic columns. The friends escape, fending off pursuers in the caves, and mount their horses to ride away with the princess. Doom reverts to his original form and vows to punish the traitors who dared to challenge him. He goes outside and charges his bow with a magic arrow, conjured from a small snake. It pierces Valeria, and she feels that her end is near. In her final moments, she asks Conan to embrace and kiss her. Valeria dies in the arms of her beloved, further fueling his thirst for revenge. In an ancient city not far from the shaman's hut, Conan cremates the warrior with fire. Subotai sheds a solitary tear, bidding farewell to his friend. Conan wears the talisman that Valeria gave him on the day they met around his neck. Conan ties the princess to a stake on the hill to lure Doom's army into a trap. The girl still believes that the sorcerer will save her from the unbelievers. Before the battle, Conan reminisces about his childhood walks in the forest with his father, the pleasant spring breeze, and the scent of fresh grass. Since then, there has been no spring in his life, only a brutal battlefield lasting 20 years. Subutai helps set traps and fortifications, and the shaman brings death's blessings and sharpens their swords. When Doom's army appears on the horizon, Conan prays to Crom. He says that no one will remember whether he and his friend were good or bad people and what they fought for. They will only remember that two individuals stood against an entire army. The brave warriors fend off the horsemen who struggle to reach the men hiding among the rocky formations. Subutai saves the shaman from certain death, skillfully handling a spear to dislodge a rider from the saddle. Conan takes on officers of Doom, trapping one of them to death. However, the second officer attacks the barbarian, injuring him severely. As the enemy raises his sword for the final blow, a mysterious figure deflects the blade and blinds the area with a flash of light. Unbelieving, Conan recognizes Valeria's spirit, fulfilling her promise to come from the afterlife to aid her beloved. Conan seizes the opportunity and defeats the last sectarian fighter. Only Talsei Doom himself remains alive, watching the battle from a distance. The sorcerer reloads his bow, this time aiming directly at the princess, who pleads with the master to take her with him. However, Subutai understands the villain's plan and, despite his injury, rushes to the girl, leaping to deflect Doom's shot. Defeated, the sorcerer shamefully flees from the battlefield. Conan finds on the ground the broken sword with which Doom's officer attempted to strike him. In its hilt, he recognizes the very blade forged by his father many years ago. The barbarian raises his hands in tribute to Crom for blessing him in battle. At night, Talsei Doom goes to the Taut pilgrims gathered at the foot of the mountain with torches. Meanwhile, the princess, disillusioned with her deity, guides Conan past the palace guards straight to Doom. The sorcerer discovers Conan, who approached from behind, and tries to use his persuasive words to take control of Conan's mind. Doom attempts to hypnotize Conan, repeatedly claiming that he is his son. Conan, who has longed to see his father for a moment, succumbs to the illusion, but, turning his gaze to the hilt of the sword, shatters the enchantment entirely. With a swift strike, Conan beheads Doom and presents his head to the crowd. Deluded by Doom, Conan takes his place and watches as the sectarians extinguish their torches, tossing them into the water. The only one remaining is the princess. Conan sets fire to the Serpent Palace and takes the girl with him to return to her father. Afterward, he will embark on new adventures to become a great king. But that's a completely different story.